ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் விகடன் வியூவர்ஸ் எல்லாருக்குமே வணக்கம். நம்ம இதுக்கு முன்னாடி பல விஷயங்கள் ஸ்விம்மிங் பற்றியும் சைக்கிளிங் பற்றியும் ரன்னிங் பற்றியும் நிறைய கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கோம். இந்த ஸ்போர்ட்ஸில் அச்சீவ் பண்ண பல ஜாம்பவான்களை அவங்களுடைய வாழ்க்கையை பற்றி எல்லாமே படிச்சிருப்போம், நியூஸில் பார்த்துருப்போம். ட்ரையத்லான் அப்படின்ற ஒரு விஷயத்தை பற்றி நம்ம பெருசாக கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்க மாட்டோம். ட்ரையத்லான் அப்படின்றது ஸ்விம்மிங், சைக்கிளிங், ரன்னிங் இது மூணும் சேர்ந்த ஒரு ஸ்போர்ட் தான். இந்த ட்ரையத்லானில் இந்தியாவை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இதை ஒரு ரேர் ஸ்போர்ட் அப்படின்னு தான் சொல்லுவாங்க. ஏன்னா இதில் ஷைன் ஆகி வந்தவங்க இல்லை இதில் பெருசாக ட்ரைனிங் எடுத்துக்கிட்டவங்க அப்படின்றது ரொம்ப சில பேர் தான். அப்படி 100ல் ஒருத்தங்களா இந்தியாவில் ட்ரையத்லான் ஸ்போர்ட்டை தன்னுடைய பேஷனாக பர்சியூ பண்ணிட்டு வரப்போகிற ஒலிம்பிக்ஸில் கூட அவங்க ட்ரையத்லானில் வின் பண்ணணும், நம்ம நேஷனுக்காக மெடல் வாங்கி தரணும் அப்படின்ற ஆஸ்பிரேஷனோட இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு அத்லெட்டை தான் இன்றைக்கி நம்ம இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில் மீட் பண்ண போகிறோம். அவங்க கூட அவங்களுடைய வாழ்க்கையை பற்றியும் இந்த ஸ்போர்ட்ஸில் அவங்களுக்கு எப்படி ஈடுபாடு வந்தது அப்படின்றத பற்றியும் ஒரு கேண்டிட் கான்வர்சேஷன் தான் நம்ம வச்சுக்க போகிறோம். வாங்க நிகழ்ச்சிக்குள்ளே போகலாம். So from being a chartered accountant to a national triathlon champion, so how do you define this whole journey?
Starting my chartered accountancy course in 2012 after I graduated from high school, and I started triathlon in 2013 and then became the national champion in 2014 and continued it parallelly with chartered accountancy until 2017. That was when I became a chartered accountant, and after that I was like, okay, let me try this triathlon for full time and see where my potential is. So for 2 years I took time, I trained under international coaches, went abroad, and then in 2019 I became the first Indian triathlete to qualify for 2019 World Cup. And then I was like, okay, I'm good at it. So I continued, and through the pandemic also I continued training. And I'm happy that the training during the pandemic has paid off now, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot of international competitions this year and with an eventual qualification for the 2024 Olympics.
But again, triathlon, it's a very rare sport in India. So many don't take up this like as a career or a complete option in sport. So you have taken triathlon as a complete action, but it is physically too much demanding. So you need to be physically very much fit, and also you have to be fast at the same time. So how do you balance everything?
So I have a balanced, I have a coach. So my father is my coach, and he gives me the workouts daily, and on a weekly basis we assess, and I have tracking mechanisms. Like I use a app called Training Peaks, where all the training records are held, and then it shows me which places require certain kind of attention, where am I lacking in terms of the world levels, and where I need to work more. So I think my coach and me and the entire ecosystem works very well to accommodate the training and everything, every bit of it, whether it be endurance, strength, flexibility, or the sprinting capability.
If it's swimming and consider to running, or even if it's cycling, so separately these all have some, like people have knowledge about this,
right?
But speaking about triathlon, what made you choose, like, okay, this is what I have to do? So what was that point?
I have been a national swimmer in my entire, teenage years, while growing up, during the middle school and the high school years. And I was also into distance running at the same time. My dad was a marathon runner himself, and my brother was also doing distance running. So there was a culture of running in the family. So I took to running. And it was only gradually that we realized as a family that I was much better in endurance and stamina events than, a sprinting event per se, like in a 100-meter race and compared to a 10-kilometer race. So I was much better than my competitors in a 10-kilometer race than I was in 100 meters. So that is how, a kind of shift that, going towards endurance made me better than my competitors. So I think that was the point I decided that let's do triathlon, and I was individually very good at all the three sports.
So hailing from Ahmedabad, and as you earlier stated, like your family is totally into sports. So how collectively you got the support to pursue this as a full-time career, and to achieve this much, it is quite impossible without a family support.
So my family has been extremely supportive since the start. I remember they had identified my talent for swimming when I was very young, like at the age of 2.5 years old. So they have been extremely, like they didn't know much about swimming at that point in time. So they went into it. They found out the best coaches in town. I went to summer camps, did swimming, and I excelled at it. And then when it came to triathlon, they were very supportive of the same. In 2013, I started out, and at that time, there were not many coaches of triathlon specifically in India. So my dad studied the entire program, and at that time internet was also kind of new and there were no YouTube videos available in regards to training. So he got some books delivered to him and read about triathlon, and through the bookish knowledge initially I trained, and then over years he has got better at it, doing some experimentations on me. So he was my coach and he still is my coach. So I think my family support has been immense. My mother travels with me to various like race locations, training locations. So she is fully dedicated. So my family, my brother also travels with me. He manages my social media at times. So I think, he is like my entire family is very supportive. And as you said, it is impossible, if not very difficult, to achieve something like that without parental support in our society.
Recently, you have defended the South Asian Triathlon Championship title. That is, consequently, for the second time, you have bagged it up. So, how it feels to be like undefeated?
So having defended the South Asian Championship for the second time in the row, so I feel really good. The first time was in 2019, and because of the pandemic, they could not have the 2020 and the 2021 edition. So in 22, they held the competition. I went there with full preparations. I was in good shape and good training, and I'm happy to have defended it, my own title. And having said that, this time the competition was a lot more fierce. We saw the highest representation of India. There were 17 men and 12 women in the competition. So the level of competition had gone up, and I also the margin with which I had won the last time, this time the margin was greater. So it only shows that I have upped my game, so has the field. So I'm happy that, triathlon as a sport is booming at the South Asian front as well. And it was a benchmark race for a lot of future international races that will be participating this year. So I'm really happy, and seeing that, the Indian flag go up at each event in which we participate makes all the sacrifices that we do worth it.
So in the past, you have faced a lot of injuries in the practice, in the process. Being an aspirant to participate in the upcoming Olympics, how important is it to maintain your physique?
But when we have injuries, sometimes it gets really demotivating, because it's like, you went 2 steps ahead, then it makes you fall 1 step behind. So mentally it's very challenging, not as much as physically, but mentally it is very challenging. And at that point in time, I feel that, you know, having a support group of people who push you back, who motivate you is very important. So having mentors, having parents, having a supportive family, having friends, having, you know, sponsors who are very supportive at that point in time becomes very essential. So I faced like injuries in and out in cycling because of the high speeds, and you know, the traffic conditions are not very favorable. So I've had accidents with cars, I've had accidents where I was at a very high speed and there was a pothole due to which I fell. So I've had you know, surgeries because of it. I have a steel clamp in my left wrist because of an accident that I had, and I've had multiple fractures otherwise. And even in races we do have injuries, because this was only last November. I was in a national championship of cycling and we were about 30 people cycling together, and 500 meters before the race finished, it was an 80-kilometer race, and 500 meters before the race finished, we had a crash in which 14 people were knocked out. And when I was lying flat on the road, there were at least 3 cycles that passed over me. So those kinds of things are a part and parcel of the sport. And being a sports person and being in the sport for almost a decade now, I understand, you know, these are the things that I have to get used to.
So you're selected for the Commonwealth Games and you're also preparing for your Olympics, upcoming Olympics. So how it totally feels like? Do you have any pressure?
So there's no pressure. I think I took it up as a passion. I really enjoy training for triathlon and I love competing. I'm a very competitive person when I am on field. So I think I really enjoy it. So there's no pressure as such, but there are personal goals and you know, career goals that I have set up for myself, long term and short term. So I think I want to achieve those. And with some pressure, I think it's good to keep you motivated. So I think there's no pressure as such, but I enjoy what I do.
So what do you have to say for upcoming athletes who aspire to become triathlon champions?
So I would want to just highlight the fact that in Olympic triathlon, one peaks. By peaking, I mean giving their best kind of performance, their potential performance that they have in the age bracket of 28 to 32. So it's a long-term sport. So if you're starting out young, you have to give it that kind of time to, you know, mature with the game, because your body requires certain years to be able to give its optimal performance. So be at the game. Don't leave the game just because you're not getting initial successes, and just love the sport. Don't do it to win. Do it to enjoy, and I think that is very essential. Do what you love and be at it.
So it was great speaking to you, and hope everyone would have an eye-opening, eye-opening interview it would be, because since it is a rare sport, you have put in a lot of information, new information for the upcoming generation, and it was so glad to meet you, Pragna.
Thank you so much.